So this is a dumbed-down timeline of events that took place that led to Patrick Manning no longer being Prime Minister, to Kamala Bussisa becoming Prime Minister, to Patrick Manning being kicked out of the PNM and replaced by Dr. Rowley, who then later became Prime Minister. Now, while some of these events started pre-2009, we're going to focus on 2009 come up to keep the video short and concise. So the year is 2009. The Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is Patrick Augustus Mervyn Manning. Well, was Patrick Augustus Mervyn Manning at that point in time. Now, on the surface, he was well loved. He was well loved, and it's because of that popularity. Some believe it went to his head, and he started thinking he was bigger than life. He started doing strange things. His name started calling in strange activities. For example, when they were building the Prime Minister's residence, cost overruns ran into the millions, and one particular thing caught the eye of everybody, especially the opposition. He wanted to build a moat costing 1.2 million around the residence. Now, a moat is what you see in medieval castles or around medieval castles, where you build the castle and then you dig a trench around it and you have water around it, and the only way to get to the castle is by a drawbridge or a single bridge. This is often seen when you have royalty, kings and queens. So the public, mostly people who didn't like him, and the opposition started saying, but you feel he's a king or you feel you bigger than life, or all I make a thing with you want a moat. And they started kicking against in the media, saying that Patrick Manning lost his way. And this came on the heels of a few years prior when Patrick Manning said that he wanted a private jet. Now, he personally didn't want a private jet. He wanted the Prime Minister's office to have a private jet. That way, when the Prime Minister has to fly wherever, he would have access to a private jet. But the people, mainly the opposition, were having none of this nonsense with private jet. Bro, you are a regional prime minister. The furthest you're going is Barbados or St. Vincent. Take Liat like everybody else. So he never got that. But to add to the strangeness, the Mark boss, I don't know how, but the Mark boss, that he had a spiritual advisor somewhere in the shadows named Juliana Pina. And she was advising him on what policies to make and guiding his path. And people started wondering, is the Prime Minister making decisions that he thinks is best, or is he making decisions that some Obia woman tell him is best? And then to add insult to injury on top of that and all the other strangeness, the Mark boss again that some church was building up in Guapo, somewhere up in Arima. And people started asking the question, is it the Prime Minister building the church out of his money? Is it the taxpayers' money? And he denied it. When something came out saying PM, he said PM probably stands for project manager, not Prime Minister. And again, the opposition were having none of that nonsense. They keep pressuring him. And then eventually the Mark boss that, yes, it was really a church he was building. But the straw that didn't just break the camel back, it destroyed the entire camel, was this whole Calder Heart UD scandal. This is a video by itself. Just a brief summary. There were allegations of bid rigging and money being stolen from UD and Calder Heart was the center of attention. He was the man. And Patrick Manning believed in him for some reason. I don't know why. And obviously at this point, we would never know why, because Patrick Manning is no longer with us. But he believed in him, and he dismissed any allegations or any wrongdoing by Calder Heart, and he just didn't want to hear anything about it. So when some Mark boss with the Napa project and some hotel or something, and our current Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, went to Patrick Manning, according to his own words, to further raise red flags that up to that time, he said he had been raising for a number of years. And again, Patrick Manning was having none of it. Patrick Manning was like, bro, there's no evidence of that. As a matter of fact, I have evidence on you that you into wrongdoing. We have to say about that. What are you even talking about? Look, here we're going on. Bring whoever, tell you that. Here, let me call them a liar to their face. And obviously, words were exchanged. The place got heated. And that led to the famous meltdown that we all know that took place in Parliament.
As a Minister of Government in Trinidad and Tobago, a PNM Minister, and told him that there was bid rigging taking place in UD. What the Commission of Inquiry is looking at is 10 times worse than what happened with Biafo Airport. Mr. Speaker, I see acrimony. Mr. Speaker, I see animosity. And Mr. Speaker, I see a man completely out of control. Completely out of control, Mr. Speaker. That is what I see. And that problem is, the minute you oppose my good friend, Mr. Speaker, the minute you oppose my good friend, he gets very, very angry. And if you oppose him strongly, Mr. Speaker, he becomes a raging bull. And that is what this government is not prepared to act. That is what it was.
And while the PNM were having one of their few public meltdowns, Calder Heart and his wife bust the tape. They left Trinidad and Tobago, went to Florida, and I don't think they ever returned because there was an active investigation on. How far it reached or if it ended, I don't know. But this whole Calder Heart UD issue led to the UNC filing a motion of no confidence or asking for a vote of no confidence against Patrick Manning. Now, all pundits and political gurus said at the time that Patrick Manning had the majority. He had the backing of his party and he was going to win the vote of no confidence. But remember, he just fired one of his ministers, and one of his ministers most likely would have had support from others in the party. And remember, all of it is happening in 2009, 2010, where the UNC just had an internal power struggle where the leader was kicked out and replaced by a new leader and a new right-hand man. So the UNC wasn't as robust as they were before. They just came out from a turbulent time and they still had some turbulence. So Patrick Manning decided, you know what? I go hit the reset button. I go take that chance. That way, he will catch the UNC off guard while they're still sorting out the issues. And if he wins the next election, he will be able to have a completely new cabinet and a new slate and a new mandate from the people. So he essentially said to the people, okay, I know there's a bunch of shit hanging over my head, but I'm still for you. Will you give me a third term? But he only gave the country 38 days to prepare for a general elections. 38 days. And this was everybody's face. The EBC was like, bro, 38 days you gave us the bare minimum, boy. That is less than even a proper pay cycle. But as history would show, that plan to catch the UNC off guard kind of backfired because the PNM ended up losing a bunch of seats. The UNC gained 6 seats, gave them the majority in parliament, and UNC went on to win the general elections, obviously. But they didn't just win the elections, They won the elections by such a wide margin that it made the PNM look like they were going backwards. And obviously, the executive and the people in charge of the PNM, they weren't going to have that. Patrick Manning had to go. Now, word on the ground is that everybody wanted this woman here to become the next political leader. Everybody, right? But Rowley wanted power. And at that time, well, all that was happening behind the scenes, Rowley started spending more time in Tobago. He said he was resting and reflecting on life. He was getting in touch with his goats and sheep and stuff he had over in Tobago on a farm. But we all know what he was doing over there. Because remember, Patrick Manning was still loved by everybody. They were upset that he lost the elections. They were upset he called elections. He took the blame. But obviously, he was still well loved and well connected. It was only a matter of time before he came back and mounted a power struggle to regain leadership of the PNM. You can't have that. So Tobago became prime destination for a select few. And while over there, things went how it went. And one day we heard that Patrick Manning got a stroke. And he just was never the same after that. He came back, he got chairs at the airport, he went to parliament, much fanfare and stuff. But he wasn't himself. He wasn't the man that we knew before that was on stage talking with all the life in the world. And that, my dear friends, is how we went from this to this to this.